Hello everybody. If you watch my channel regularly, you'll likely know that starting on the 24th of March, I'm going to be hosting a webinar course on medical astrology. Now this course will run for 44 weeks on into 2020. You can register for this course either by making payment by trimester or making payment in full. If you miss a class here and there, each class is recorded, so it's really no worry because you can catch up with the video of the class. I thought I would come on, first of all, if you're interested in registering for the course or more information, you can find it at the link above, and I'll point that out at the end too. I thought I would come on today and just show about 1% of what I'm going to cover on the course. Now, I can't show you 100% of what I'm going to cover on the course because I don't have time to sit that long and do that long of a video. So I'm just going to show you one small portion of something that we're going to learn, but it is equally something that's very profound, both from an astrological perspective and equally from the perspective of wellness. And that is the fact that planets are reliant upon each other astrologically in order to bring overall good health to the horoscope, much in the same way that different organ systems in the body are reliant upon each other in order to bring a good foundation for health to the body. And one of the ways that planets become reliant upon each other are through specific types of relationships. We're going to talk about one of these types of relationships today, which is the parent-child relationship. Now, there are 4 planets astrologically that share a planet-child relationship. We're going to talk about one set of these planets, and that is the Sun and Saturn. So what happens when one of these planets is weak in the parent-child relationship is that the other planet has to work a lot harder in order to bring a decent level of health to the body. So let's understand a little bit more about the Sun and Saturn, and that'll give us an idea of how these two planets rely upon each other and what can really kind of happen overall if one of them is weak or if both of them are weak. And if both of them are weak, it usually points to a real problem health-wise in the horoscope. Okay, so let's talk first of all about what the Sun is. A good way to understand the planets is through what is called the royal court of the planets. Okay, in terms of the royal court of the planets, the Sun is the king. So any good king is going to be responsible for the well-being of his kingdom, right? He wants to, be strong. He wants to be regal. And so we understand on some levels that the Sun can also relate to the immune system, which is one of the functions of the Sun. But another function of the Sun is the purifying fire of the body, or the Agni in the body. The Sun's function in terms of medical astrology, or one of the functions I should say, because the Sun has many functions, is to oxidize the toxins in the body. Okay, so the Sun is the king. Saturn, however, is the servant. And interestingly enough, Saturn is the child of the Sun. So when you have parent-child relationships between the planets, those two planets are really reliant upon each other, as I was saying before, in order to bring good health to the body. So if the Sun is related to oxidizing the toxins in the body, what is Saturn's function? Well, Saturn's job is to muscle all the things out of the body that are not good for the health of the body. It's responsible for the cleanliness of the blood. Its responsibility is to consistently, day and night, all the time, go through the body and get rid of the junk. Okay, it's like the cosmic trash person, or if you live in Europe, rubbish person, right? Its job is to get the trash or the rubbish out of the body in order to clean the body. And Saturn has to do this day in and day out because Saturn is the servant. It's Saturn's job. So if you have a weak Saturn in the horoscope chart, and we're looking for these in specific charts, and that's also one of the things that I'm going to share on this course, and I'll touch on it briefly in this video. So if you have a weak Saturn, then the sun has to work harder, right? If Saturn is falling down on its job of cleaning the blood and purifying the blood and getting all the junk and all the toxins out of the system, then the sun is going to have to oxidize a lot more, right? And if the sun falls down on his job of oxidizing the toxins in the system, then Saturn really has to clean up a lot more of the garbage. Ideally, you want them both strong. That gives you a good foundation for strong health. If one of them is weak, then the other one has to work harder. If they're both weak, then in many instances, you have a real problem, okay? The sun is the foundation for health. The sun is our vibrancy, right? It relates to our exuberance, our capacity to shine, right? Saturn, one of the things that Saturn rules are the dirty places, right? So Saturn is the foundation for disease resistance, right? If you think in terms of the planetary army, Saturn represents the, the foot soldier that's out there having to, fight things on a daily basis, right? So he's the foundation for disease resistance. And if he can't keep the enemy away from the gates, then the king is going to suffer, right? And if the king doesn't have the exuberance to, direct the rest of the kingdom, then Saturn's not going to know how to do his job well. So it only makes good astrological common sense. So I thought I would share with you a specific chart just to give you a general idea. Here we see the horoscope chart of someone who was a cancer victim. Okay, so please don't misconstrue what I'm going to say next. First of all, you need to obviously consult with a good health practitioner for anything that you may be suffering in relation to your body, okay? Astrology is not meant to be a substitute for good, strong health advice. And in addition to that, just because you have the sun in Libra in your chart, it doesn't mean that you have the propensity for cancer. There are a lot of things that go into interpret this, but I'm just trying to point out an example in relation to the horoscope. So if we look at the chart of this person who's a cancer victim, we can see we've got a debilitated sun, and we've got Saturn in neutral dignity. Now, when a planet's in neutral dignity, it's not in and of itself a disease-producing planet. It's more the planets that are in enemy signs or great enemy signs or debilitated, or if they're having to cope with the with conjunctions with cruel planets. That's also a factor that tends to create it. But a neutral planet in and of itself is not that strong. So here in the main birth chart, we've got a neutral Saturn, which is kind of so-so, and we've got a sun that's debilitated. Now, two other charts especially get taken into consideration for health and well-being, right? We also want to note that Saturn here is the lord of the 6th house in the Rashi chart. Okay, so with Saturn being kind of so-so, it points to a, kind of average health overall that the sun then has the potential to weaken when the times come along. Also, another factor that we take into consideration, and all of these are things that I'm going to teach on the course, I'm just touching on them briefly now for the sake of timeliness within the video, is the overall Shadbala of the planet. And here you can see that you do have somewhat of a compromised sun. So planets that have weaker Shadbala, they can also be the problematic planets in the horoscope. So two other charts that we would want to consider both of these planets in would be the Trimshamsha chart, which is the 30th divisional chart, and in addition to that, the 40th divisional chart. Okay, so here in the Trimshamsha chart, you've got an exalted Saturn. That definitely helps things, but you've got a weak sun. The sun's in a great enemy sign. And so that's not really helpful for the sake of the horoscope. And if you notice, the sun rules the 6th equal house here. So the sun gives a weak foundation for health in the Trimshamsha as well. When we go in and we look at the 40th divisional chart, which is the Kavadamsha, here you'll see that the sun is the lord of the 8th, and the sun's in an enemy sign. Okay, and here you have Saturn as the Lord of the first, and the first house is very important in terms of health as well. That's the body itself. Saturn here in the Kavadamsha is in an enemy sign, and it's in a difficult house here, right? Here you have the Sun in an enemy sign and equally in a difficult house because it's in the 6th. So all of these things go into contributing to poor health in the horoscope. And this is just a brief look at this. There are a lot more intricacies that are involved in judging this. And these are the things that are going to be covered on the Medical Astrology course that, again, starts this coming Saturday, the 23rd of March. I think I may have said it wrong earlier. If I said the 24th, I meant to say the 23rd of March. And that class is going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. London time. Sorry I only had a moment or two to point out these factors in the horoscope today, but if you're interested in learning more about the things that we're going to be covering on this course, you can visit the course registration page. And of course, if you're interested in learning more medical astrology, that is, of course, what's going to be covered on this course, of course. Okay, and if you're interested in this course, of course, then, of course, you can go to the link above. That's going to do it for this look at Sun and Saturn and how they rely upon each other in terms of medical astrology. Until next time, please take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.